story being told by Dave's mom about the day he was born, his quick entry into the world, but then the delayed announcement of his birth. Dave was born on a cold January morning after a very quick labor. He was born about 7:30 in the morning. It was a sunny day, and his dad, feeling that it was a little bit too early to call people, told me later he went around the park and then went home to bed.
I was exhausted because I had a terrible sinus infection. So I went home to bed. Well, 7:30 in the morning was David's arrival time, and my father, when I had been born, took a ride around Delaware Park to celebrate. And I did the same thing. When David was born, January 31st, I drove on a bright, sunny, snowy day around Delaware Park, and then went home to bed.
After Dave's father woke up and told everybody he was born, they brought him back here to their first apartment at 240 Morris Avenue. Now, Dave's mother's aunt came by. She was a nurse to check out to make sure the baby was okay. She had 6 kids of her own and didn't particularly care for any of them, but after she opened up the swaddling on Dave's clothing and checked out to make sure he was okay, a tear came to her eye. Touching. I lived with Dave for a few years, and I think if at any point I had chosen to unswaddle him, I may have cried myself. Dave's parents next moved here, 444 Huntington, where as a 5-year-old, Dave ran across this street barefoot on hot tar. A neighbor had to come over and scrape it off his feet. Dave recounted this story in an essay when he was a senior in high school, which could have been titled, "My Parents Are Completely Worthless." Dave got an A, Barb got an F. This is where Dave lived out the rest of his childhood, 836 Tacoma Ave. Do you remember that Viewpoint article that Dave wrote for the Buffalo News defending Byron Brown's son for stealing the car? Funny story, he wasn't really supporting a misguided youth. He was identifying with a fellow criminal. Dave and Kevin McDonald stole their mother's car when he was 16. He didn't have a license. That's fucked up, Dave. Interesting story. When I had my moving company, Alternate Moving Service, I moved Dave's mother out of this house and carried all of her belongings to her new home. What's interesting about it is one of the guys who helped me tried to hang himself in the holding center 4 years later. It's just kind of interesting. 844 Potomac, where Dave and I and sometimes Ron Churchill lived for a couple of years. Favorite all-time story is one that I'm sure you've heard before. Dave came out to check the mail, got trapped in the vestibule here between the doors. One locked behind him, the one in front of him was locked, and he needed a key to get out. Dave had nothing but his boxers, a t-shirt, and a pair of nail clippers. Can you imagine what that must have looked like from the street? I'm guessing the only thing funnier would be to see him run across the lawn to climb in the back window. From Potomac, we moved over here to Dave's Park, where on New Year's Eve, we got robbed of every single thing that Dave owned. Because of that, he slept at his mother's for 2 weeks, and I slept with a hockey stick. And while that developed into a rather persistent fetish, it left us a little bit tainted as to our views of living down here. So we moved over to St. James Place. This is the last place I lived with Dave, 183 St. James Place. I got 2 words to say about this place. Pete's gay! This is 51 Huntington, where Dave lived for a while with Jim Brandt, who I wish I could say something about, but he's just a nice guy. We did give him an awesome wedding gift, though. You can ask him about that later. Anyway, this is where I came to visit Dave after he dislocated his shoulder during his brief hockey career. But Dave is a hockey player. He healed up, got back out there, and I was playing with him during his first game back. During his first shift, he threw himself onto the ice so hard I thought he was dead. But he got right back up and did it about 15 more times that night and came out healthy. That's a hockey player.
The problem with trying to find a funny or incriminating or embarrassing story about Dave was one I turned over in my head a lot, and eventually had to turn to Steve Hassett, to get some help to sort the issue out. And Steve was able to clarify it for me by explaining that for as long as he could remember, Dave, as the alpha dog of 836 Tacoma, had been kind of cosmically impervious or immune from any kind of embarrassment from a very young age. As Steve said, it was almost as though Dave's been working that as a master plan from the very beginning. The way it works is, before an incident in Dave's life can become embarrassing for him in any way, shape, or form, he's already thought about it, processed it, put it through the prism of humor and comedy, told the story to dozens of people, got a whole table or a whole party roaring about it. He's just become a character within that story, and again, any sense of embarrassment or incrimination has just drifted away into the ether. Within a matter of months after cajoling my fair bride to move from Erie to Buffalo, and she had unpacked, kind of her effects and her pictures and whatnot, and Dave had seen a family portrait of the McGinnis family. Whereupon the next time he saw Bridget, he said, "Hey, I saw that lovely portrait of the McGinnis family there on the bookshelf." To which Bridget, isn't that nice? And to which Dave then said, "And may I add that you are by far the thinnest of the McGinnis children."
He called my entire family fat.
Back in 1987, I had known Barb, Dave's mom, for about 8 months, and invited her to go with me at Christmas to Barbados. And she agreed. Well, when the time came, Dave drove his mom out to my house in Amherst, and reached over, shook my hand, and in a sense transferred Barb's, I won't say ownership, but he was very fatherly about this. Transferred her to me and wished us well on our bon voyage to Barbados.
So I've learned 3 things about Dave that's important for really everybody to know. One is never loaning your truck unless you're up for experiencing the Kenmore Police Department's unique brand of vigilante street justice. 2 is, if anybody's posting murder threats in front of your house and calling Wadi Salabini to come over, it's probably Dave. And number 3 is, never ever tie your shoes in front of him at Griffith's Sculpture Park. I mean, dude, not over there. It's too steep, you'll fall down. It's right here. I'm sorry, I don't want to show you this, but it's important for people to know. I'm sorry, I just can't talk about this anymore.
So, one thing that not many people might know about Dave is exactly how competitive he is. So last fall, we signed up to do a fundraiser for Roswell Park, which was a scavenger hunt around North Buffalo. So, Dave's had a lot of experience with scavenger hunts. He knows North Buffalo. I figured he'd be a good partner for it. And what I wasn't prepared for was how competitive he was going to be about this race. So about halfway into this 10-mile race, which was just basically walking over all of North Buffalo, I'm ready to give up and just start drinking beer. Dave says, no, we have to solve the next clue. And we went on to solve actually every single clue on the race sheet. But because of a few miscalculations, we finished a little later. We finished third, and which I thought was pretty good because I was ready to drink beer in the middle of the day instead of finishing it all. And we get back to the bar where the race was organized, and we meet the other teams that finished ahead of us. And one of the teams, to me, looked like they maybe had cheated. And as soon as we just talked to them a little bit and realized that, in fact, almost certainly they had cheated, Dave was livid with his team for having deprived us of second place. And I had to physically restrain him at one point from assaulting the guy on the other team, which was good because in the end, the third place prize was pretty decent.
He was helping me move some furniture and in the course of delivering a refrigerator, he got furious over something and threw it off the truck onto the throughway. Amazing. It's lucky nobody was killed.
Remember that time in the fishing boat when you almost took my head off with a fishing rod?
So he's like 5 years old, I'm 4, and he's lifting me off the ground with like a double titty twister.
And he punched me right in the neck. I have no idea why.
Like how he grabbed my ass in San Francisco?
And not a lot of people know this, but he hit me.
He kicked me!
Okay, so Dave probably remembers memorable picnics at Old Fort Erie with that gang of boys, with the exception of one, and that was Mariah Bissonette.
Mariah was in your kitchen on Tacoma Avenue, and you said to Mariah, "You know, Mariah, I bet I know you wish you had a penis." A penis. And Mariah took one look at you and took a carrot, Dave. And what did she do? She took the carrot, bit it in half, and said, "That's what I think of your penis." That's what I think of your penis.
I think it's both embarrassing, but it also helps explain this kind of Teflon nature that Dave has with respect to embarrassment. And it's the long persisting mystery of who pushed Mariah Bissonette into the moat at that Memorial Day picnic in Fort Erie in the 80s. And it's an issue shrouded with more kind of intrigue and more of an enigma than the grassy knoll on a Dallas parade route. I maintain that Dave was responsible for pushing Mariah into the moat. And Mariah, if you're out there, here's my business card. The statute of limitations on such an assault has not run. Not in Ontario, it hasn't.
When I was thinking about Dave for this, my mind raced back to one of my very first memories of him. Probably one of the first times I came over to his house. It was around his birthday, probably 2.5 decades ago, and he had had knee surgery. And he was supposed to be in bed, and he was supposed to stay in bed. But no. So I came over, and I was downstairs in the living room, and I remember him coming down the stairs, which he wasn't supposed to do, you rebel, coming down the stairs with these crutches, just one at a time, smiling at me, while he was in all of this pain. It was so clear that he was in pain. In fact, I think the stitches might have broken, and he was bleeding a little bit. And that's the thing about Dave. It's like he smiles through the stitches.
So Dave was the first guy I ever lived with. It was great. We'd wake up and watch SportsCenter in the morning, you know, sit out on the steps at night and play the Beatles and listen to them sing. And Sunday mornings we'd make pancakes together. Yeah, Dennis was there too. Yeah, but that summer with Dave, best summer of my life.
So as many of you know, Dave and I dated for a brief period of time. At least I dated Dave and 14 of his closest friends for a brief period of time. But what a lot of people don't know is how the breakup went. And it was very amicable. You know, we were friends first and foremost. So I think the conversation went something like, you know, I said to Dave, you know, Dave, I kind of feel like I'm here at point A and you're over here at point C, and I'm willing to go to point B. And Dave said, I'm really kind of more feeling point D. So then he came up from behind me and started choking me.